You don't really want to disappear. You just want peace. But sometimes, that's hard to explain, because even to you, it sounds strange. Wanting to vanish from the world for a few days. To be out of reach. Not have to reply to anyone. Not have to prove anything. Just exist. In silence. You look at your life and think, everything looks fine, so why do I feel this tired? It's a kind of exhaustion sleep can't fix. A weariness that lives deep in your soul, not in your body. Like just existing is asking more of you than you can give. And then you start to wonder if maybe the problem is you. Maybe you're weak, lazy, ungrateful. But what if that's not it? What if you're just tired of having to be strong all the time? You don't want to die. But sometimes the way life is right now doesn't feel like it fits anymore either. You don't want to disappear. You just wish the world would pause for a few minutes, so you could breathe without feeling guilty. You just want to unplug without feeling like you're letting people down, to disappear for a bit without worrying anyone, to go quiet without having to explain why. You don't want to disappear. You just want to exist without having to fight all the time. You just want peace to stop being a luxury and start being a right. And what if this urge to disappear isn't madness, but a quiet request from someone who's been carrying too much for too long? Some days you wake up and it already feels like you've lived the whole day before you've even gotten out of bed. Like just opening your eyes comes with a weight, that same old heaviness no one else sees. And then the day begins. You get up, do what needs to be done, talk to who you have to, reply to what's expected. On the outside, everything seems normal, but inside, you're dragging yourself through it, not physically, but emotionally. It's like carrying around a suitcase full of feelings you don't know where to put. Expectations, fears, pressure, thoughts that won't shut up, all mixed together, all stuck inside. And the more you try to ignore it, the heavier it gets. You're tired, but it's not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. It's the kind of exhaustion that comes from existing too much, for too long, without a break, from having to be okay, from having to function, from having to be strong, logical, productive, even when your mind is silently falling apart. Sometimes you ask yourself, why do I feel like this when I have so many good things in my life? But maybe that's the trap. Yes, you do have good things, but they don't cancel out the pain. They just make you feel even more guilty for not being okay. So you go quiet. You swallow it. You pretend. A trained smile, autopilot answers. A presence that's not really present. And deep down, something grows. A quiet scream that says, I can't take this anymore. But I don't know how to ask for help. That's the kind of exhaustion the world doesn't see. The kind that comes from having to keep being, even when everything inside you is begging to stop. It's not always some big trauma. Sometimes, it's the buildup of all the little things. The message you don't reply to. The email you keep putting off. The dishes piling up again. The words you swallow. The I'm fine you say when you're really not. One by one, those little things start stacking up, like stones on your shoulders, and suddenly, you can't even point to what exactly broke you. You just know you're in pieces. It's hard to explain this kind of pain, because it doesn't bleed. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't come with a clear diagnosis. But it's real, and it wears you down. It's that low-level anxiety that follows you all day. It's the inability to relax, even in moments meant for rest. It's the constant feeling that you're late, behind, not doing enough, even when no one's actually pressuring you. This kind of overload goes unnoticed because you've learned how to hide it, how to make it look easy, how to laugh when you really want to cry, how to say yes when your whole body is begging you to say no. And the world applauds you for it. For being strong, for keeping it together, for being dependable. But no one sees the cost. No one sees the insomnia. The way you freeze over the simplest decisions. The irrational fear of letting down the people you love. The racing thoughts that never give you a moment of peace. This is the weight no one notices until you collapse. And even then, some might still try to convince you it's all just in your head. But you feel it. The simple has become heavy. Your day-to-day has turned into a battlefield, and even breathing feels like it takes effort. You don't want to give up on life. You just want a life that doesn't make you fight so hard just to exist. It's not that you want to disappear from life, you just want to find yourself without having to explain anything. Some days, the biggest desire isn't to die. It's to vanish, to fall off the radar, to close your eyes and only come back when everything feels less loud, less demanding, less suffocating. And then you catch yourself thinking, what if I just dropped everything for a few days? What if no one came looking for me? What if I could just pause everything for a while? But that thought always comes with guilt. The feeling that needing space is weakness, that wanting distance is selfish, that even thinking about stepping away, even just internally, is somehow unforgivable. So you stay. But deep down, you already left a long time ago. You start pulling away in silence. You slowly dim your own light. You smile less, speak less, feel less, because you just can't keep up with the version of yourself the world expects. And when someone finally notices and asks, "What's wrong?" you just say, "I'm just tired." But it's not just tiredness. It's a muffled scream for space. For somewhere you can just be, without having to justify it. Because sometimes, what you really want is to disappear for a while, and still know that someone would be waiting for you to come back. You're not trying to run away from life. You're just trying to reconnect with yours, without pressure, without expectations. You just want to exist in a place where you don't have to be okay all the time, where you can let go of the need to look strong, to have answers, to keep it together. But there's a fear that sneaks in too. A subtle but very real fear. What if I disappear and no one notices? What if I get lost in the silence and can't find my way back? That's the paradox of carrying the weight of being strong all the time. You want to run, but you also want to be found. You want to disappear, but secretly hope someone will feel your absence. You want to vanish, but really, you just want a place to rest without having to explain a thing. There comes a point where even words feel heavy. You don't want to explain what you're feeling anymore. You don't want to justify your silence. You don't want to put into sentences something you don't fully understand yourself. So you go quiet. You pull back. You slowly retreat, like someone turning off the lights in a room one by one, just to see if anyone notices. But almost no one does. Or if they do, they ask in the wrong way. What's wrong with you? Why are you like this? You just need to go out more, as if it were simple, as if it were just a matter of willpower. Silence becomes a shelter. In there, no one demands anything from you. No one expects a performance. No one looks at you like you're falling short. In there, you get to exist without playing a role. No forced smiles. No need to look okay just to keep others comfortable. But that silence, the one that starts as protection, sometimes turns into a prison. You get so used to not speaking, you start forgetting how to speak. You forget that you have the right to be heard. You forget you don't have to be 100% to deserve attention. You forget that pain doesn't have to be hidden to be respected. And the longer you stay in that quiet space, the harder it is to leave. Because the fear of not being understood grows. Because the exhaustion of having to explain comes rushing back before you've even said a word. So you stay. Not because you want to, but because you don't know how to take up space in the world again without feeling like a burden. Silence is a refuge. But sometimes it's also a cry for help that no one hears. Maybe what you want most, and don't know how to ask for, is for someone to just sit beside you, not to force a conversation, not to rush your healing, not to fix anything. Just someone who can look at you and say, without words, "Stay, I see you," and you don't have to say a thing right now. Maybe you don't actually want to disappear. Maybe you just want a place where your mind can breathe. A moment where the world stops demanding answers. A space where simply existing doesn't feel so heavy. Because deep down, you're not looking for an ending. You're looking for a new beginning, but one without the rush of someone trying to hold everything together. You're craving a pause that brings you back to yourself. A chance to listen inward without having to explain. You've spent so long trying to be strong, trying not to disappoint, trying to keep up, that you've forgotten what it means to just be. To be fragile, to be vulnerable, to be incomplete, and still worthy of love. Maybe you don't need answers right now. Maybe you don't need solutions. Just a quiet corner to feel. A soft place to land. A presence that says, it's okay to stop for a while. I'm here. Because there's a kind of peace that doesn't come from silence around you. It comes from permission within you. The permission to not be strong today. To not be okay. To not pretend. This urge to disappear isn't selfish. It isn't dramatic. It isn't weakness. It's the silent cry of a soul that's too tired to keep explaining itself. And what if, instead of disappearing, you started allowing yourself to just exist, exactly as you are? No filters, no masks, no goals, just you, with you. Maybe the peace you've been looking for isn't somewhere far off. Maybe it's right here, in this moment where you finally listen to yourself with kindness and realize your worth was never tied to being unbreakable. If this spoke to something inside you, maybe it's time to stop pushing yourself so hard and start holding yourself a little softer. Subscribe to keep this quiet conversation going between you and the part of you that's ready to come back home.